you check the children? Show a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Marcia Parker.
And you got Jaime and Fuego here, and returning for another patron request. This one coming from Ms. Marie, and it is long overdue. We apologize, and yes, just, throughout the holidays and different sorts of things, but I am so glad because we needed a lady's perspective on XX, the female-centric as far as both like the acting and the writing and the directorial capacity for this particular anthology of the horrific. So I think we watched this twice, like each of us at this particular point, right? Yeah, because like correlating schedules and stuff are like, okay, we're going to watch it and review it, and then, she has children, I live far, all kinds of different stuff. So, trying to factor it all into the horror show stuff, it's a little bit difficult sometimes, but I'm glad we're finally getting to discuss this anthology from a few years ago that spotlights a bunch of very talented ladies, most notably, I know Karen Kusama does a particular segment here, St. Vincent does another one, but there are 4 different segments, and then there is a stop-motion wraparound, which is pretty cool as well. So, overall thoughts, I'm gonna toss it to the one who has like different organs than myself. So, trying to be funny.
So, okay, so overall thoughts, I mean, I am a fan of anthologies, and I don't think this one was bad. It wasn't my favorite. I think there was only really one of the segments that I really dug, and I think that's just because of the stories. Like, I didn't resonate, like, some of the stories in the other 3 just didn't seem as interesting as the one that I really liked. The production value is amazing. The actors are great. Like, they had all the elements there, but it is when you have an anthology and you're stuck with a short film, you really got to pay attention to the story. It's got to have a plot and a twist that really grabs grabs the person's attention and wants them to watch it all the way through. And just, not all of them got me there, unfortunately. So, regardless if this is a female-driven gung-ho thing, congratulations, you guys did it. I just wasn't a huge fan of the end result.
Yeah, I always kind of approach an anthology horror film just expecting that I'm not going to love every single segment. There's no possible capacity for that to be the case, but it was expertly directed from a visual standpoint, but I mean, the scripting is really what I would discredit, at least with some of the stories. We will get into that. Seemingly, my favorite was, in fact, the one that was done by the girl who was part of, there was a bloody disgusting, goodness, okay. I'm not going to try to remember the name of different stuff if it's not, like, hitting me right away, but it was the rock story. What was it?
The Fall?
The Fall? Okay, we will get to it at some particular point. But yeah, we have 4 different stories, as I mentioned, and two bookending little bits here and there and stuff. But yeah, decent performance, I suppose, but a lot of predictability, and I don't know. It's just very tough to have that just complete consistency when it comes to horror. So, especially of the anthology variety. So, but as far as story goes, which is where it'll be easier for us to jump into, the first one is called The Box, if I recall correctly, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so we have this family, and they're on like kind of a subway rail sort of system, and there is a weird guy in there with a box. He basically opens it up and shows it to a kid that is there. It's the daughter, if I recall correctly, right?
It's the son.
It's the son of the daughter. Okay, it's once again been a hot minute since watched, but
pretty sure it was the son.
Anyway, long story short, eating is suddenly off the table, despite the fact that this is a rich family with lots of nice, diverse, different foods that they're going to serve, and kids can get picky, obviously, and they're like, nah, I don't want that, and maybe they eat something different at school or with friends or the next night with the family or whatever, but it seems to be kind of a contagious sort of situation, and yeah, there is more and more of the family, and this mother is just trying to rack her brain around what sort of sordid chisel is really going on. This one was actually based on a short story from a number of years before, as opposed to being written directly and specifically for the screen. I enjoyed it well enough, but I mean, did you like the end result?
No, because there was no payoff. Like, I thought that, it was an interesting concept where the kid looks in the box and then all of a sudden he just gives off.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? And then all of a sudden he stops eating because he has like some sort of like, epiphany of like what the higher value of life is, and just stops eating. And then it spreads by him telling his sister, and then she stops eating, and then
it's like a whisper sort of thing,
right,
if I
and then
remember right.
it goes to the dad, and it almost is like they're in on something that the mom is never privy to,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, she just kind of goes insane from it. But and then eventually just they all die because they don't eat. They just stop eating. And not to spoil it, but it's been out for quite some time, so if you haven't watched it since 2017, then
yeah, I was about to say
you're not going to watch
4 years old
it.
now, almost now.
So it. But the payoff just wasn't quite there. I didn't understand. Maybe it was me, and maybe I'm just not elevated enough in my thinking to understand what that they were trying to teach us or tell us. And without that payoff and the ending of the story that made sense to me, like if you can explain it to me, maybe I'll understand it better. But I never understood like what was the point, except for that they just stop eating and then they just don't live.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the best horror doesn't get explained. It's just like horrific stuff for the sake of just being a bad, nasty, unexplained situation. And that's more so what I would contend for this, even if there is obviously, you can theorize about, what was seen that kind of spread this thought throughout everybody. But yeah, this was one that I thought was decent enough, but nothing I would really adamantly return to, even though I did a second time as I,
watched it twice. I still don't get it.
Yeah.
but the production value was there. The acting was there. They did a phenomenal job. It had all the elements. It's just the story. It just wasn't enough for me for that one.
No, I'm there with you. And the next entry went into more of like a darkly comedic sort of variety, because there is this woman who was hosting a birthday party for her child, and there is a husband that is suddenly dead without spoiling stuff. And there was also an entertaining, I think it was like a panda that was coming over. Maybe I'm mistaken. Like
some sort of like bunny or something.
Yeah, a big costume sort of animal character. And husband is hidden within that sort of thing. Maybe it was a bunny man. It's been a minute, but
forgive us.
Nonetheless, there is a dead father that is hidden within a big animal suit, and it's about this woman trying her damnedest to stay sober enough to continue hiding and hiding what's actually transpired, and entertain her child and make sure her birthday is not absolutely ruined. And so this was directed by St. Vincent, who is a prominent Canadian singer, songwriter, musician, if I'm not mistaken. So this is her just kind of dipping her toe into very bloody dark comedy, and I didn't hate it, but once again there was that essence of predictability, as I mentioned earlier, and just the fact that where is this going to get beyond just the setup? And it never really gets beyond the setup, at least for me.
And the payoff wasn't really there either. Yeah. I don't know. It was just another one of those to me, okay. Okay. That was... I didn't even get the comedic side of it, to be honest. It was...
I mean, dark comedy, almost like a very bad thing, sort of or Weekend at Bernie's, the husband's dead, we're trying to hide the dead body, and the dumping over, when they're singing and, stuff like that. But
yeah, I guess
did it land?
I guess it could be funny, and it wasn't to me. It wasn't funny to me.
Yeah. So
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm I feel like, and I hate being a Debbie Downer, but but at the same I like to point at some of the good stuff. I thought the acting was great. We got I forget her name, but she's a character actor. She's in many things. And
I've seen her in a ton of stuff.
She's
it's
super good. The colors, the vibrant colors that they used throughout it was really nice. Even the special effects that were given with the blood and stuff looked legit. Everything looked really clean.
Yeah.
But, the story didn't pay off to me. It didn't get me invested in it. I was just like, okay, let's, like you said, like, can we just can move forward and like have a little bit more substance. It needed just a little bit more of a hook on that one. All the elements are there, except I just didn't feel that one. But the next one, the fall,
I think we are in consensus that
was
this
so
was
good.
this was the best one.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I think this is one that Cecil really didn't like. If I remember, like, I think it was Cecil that told me that they didn't like this one, or it could have been somebody else. I don't know, but this one I really like because it was it kind of gave you like the Hills Have Eyes kind of experience in a way where they're in a camper, like
Elevated with a little bit of supernatural though, obviously. Yeah.
Yep. So like it told a full story. So you had, without giving too much,
Beginning, a middle, and an end, and I know that's one of your biggest criticisms a lot of the time. You're just like, where's the third act, mofo?
Where's
Like, what's
the
going
third
on?
act? Where's
Even in
the
a
art?
short story, you can do it.
You can do it. There is time. So like you have a group of kids, campers, they're out in the desert and they set up camp and they stumble upon some petroglyphs and that they, touched or something, and then it just kind of grew from there. Like it was kind of a creature story.
Yeah, we've got these two couples just basically smoking, drinking, hanging out on this little, almost like reservation, so to speak, like New Mexico, Arizona, like our area of the Southwest, and somebody gets possessed after they encounter this stuff, and there is indeed some death that goes down, and having to rise to the occasion, and will evil prevail? I mean, basic stuff, but
it was super gory and bloody and just like super, just like you could tell they had fun making this.
And I did remember the name of the anthology. So this was from the same female director who was a part of Southbound, which was produced, which was produced by Bloody Disgusting. She did in that particular anthology an installment which was about this chick punk rock, like hardcore band that has their van break down, and then they end up in this home of like weird cult crazy people. And she also did a feature called something Brighton Rock. I'm trying to remember the entirety of it, but a very capable female director, and that's, I mean,
it shows here.
Yes,
it
very,
shows.
very much so.
And like just like all the other ones, very great production, about same level of production, and the special effects, the blood, it was so cool, and just this, but the story was the winner here. It was interesting. It was to the point. It had a middle, like a beginning, middle, and end, and you had fun watching it. And and it was quick. It was quick, so I liked it.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see the girl from Mr. Mercedes, who is in this as well. Yep. And she plays kind of a pivotal part in this. And so I mean, this was legitimately, you always have a standout, so to speak, in this sort of anthology approach, and this was the case. I think we would both agree.
Yep.
Yeah, so we get to our final entry now, and without really getting too into it, we have to at least give the director just her prestige and acclaim because of the fact that Karen Kusama, she also did The Invitation, which is a great slow burn, like thriller sort of horror thing. Her star has built even more so in the preceding years and stuff like that. But this is one about Son of Satan. It's another one of those Son of Satans, and that's about as much as we can kind of divulge, because there's kind of a wrestling amongst both mother and son about whether they want to give in and give over to the true destiny of this child.
Nature versus nurture, too. A little bit of that. And I didn't completely hate this one.
Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite, but I didn't completely hate this one. I thought it was really interestingly shot. I think the story had, even though it is a story we've seen time and time again, it was different enough to keep me intrigued.
It had moments enough of doing its own thing and expanding lore and making it kind of its own.
Yeah, so I did appreciate this one, not as much as The Fall, but more than the other two. So I thought it was a solid way to end it.
Yeah, and so. I mean, bottom line, as somebody who loves seeing creativity from both, anybody who doesn't look something like me, whether it's a woman or a person of color or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like those sort of perspectives are significantly more important than what you see from me as far as reaction and creation and whatever. And I find so much of that much more intriguing because different nationalities and women being a man, yeah, exactly, different living experiences. They basically perceive horror differently than we do, and that's where, even if I didn't love this anthology, I'm super stoked that it exists because of the fact that everything at least had that lady's perspective in the narrative. Every single one of them did.
Yep.
All four. So.
There were. Well, the fall wasn't motherly, but the other three had a mother aspect.
Yeah,
in it,
we
which
still
is
had kind of like a final girl sort of thing with who ends up, but
yeah.
strong, complex female characters in all four of these stories.
I agree, and I think we've said this before on this show. Like, me and Susie were like, well, if it rocks, it rocks. I don't care if a guy did it, if a girl did it, or whatever. I'm not gonna rush out and watch something just because it's female oriented, but I'm happy to give anything a chance, and I think it is important that these things do exist because it shows the up and coming females, regardless of your background, whatever, that you can do this. It's not, this is an industry, led by men, but it's slowly not the case anymore. There are more and more females going out there and doing their thing and proving we can do it just as good. You may like it, you may not like it. That's fine, but not everybody's pizza, not everybody's gonna like it. But it's important that we do these things, that we support these acts.
Agreed.
Because we want to make sure that we're not taking somebody's dream away. We want to encourage everybody's dream, and you just never know what that person's gonna be, bring to the table. So I'm glad I was able to watch this and support it in that way. I watched it twice, and each time I did get a different added a little bit more to the stories of if I liked it or not, but at the same time I appreciated it more the second time around. Yeah,
I found a lot more in the box this time than I did in the previous viewing, and that's about just taking another look at art. And if there is ever a day where regardless of gender or skin color or whatever, we can just be it's just art, it's just a movie, it's just a short or a TV show or a comic or a novel or a painting or whatever. I feel like I love your point about the fact that if we could just do away with those preconceptions, because they do make people think differently about art when they approach it. They're like, oh, this one's by a white guy, or oh, this is by a bunch of women directors, because people with their own preconceived prejudices, they will kind of step into their ready to think a certain way. And we're not there yet, but I do think that we, especially in the last year or so, guys, without getting too into it, have made significant strides with just giving everybody a voice and hopefully just letting art be art and judge it as such.
Yeah, just because you don't like it doesn't mean somebody else isn't going to love it, and just respect, everybody as they are. Everybody's different. There's a reason why there's so many different ways to watch and be creative, and that's why we're here. So
variety's the spice of life, yo.
But I appreciate you, Miss Marie, for bringing this to our attention and letting us watch it and really pushing. I remember us doing the trailer review when it first came out, and I think this actual request to watch actually really pushed us to watch it and get it done. And I'm glad we were able to do that. There's just so much content out there that sometimes we just need a little push from you all. Yeah. So hey, if you like this and you want to push us in the right direction or give us something new to watch, then please go ahead and become a Patreon, and that way you can provide us with your like new movie or something that you want to watch that maybe we haven't watched yet, and we'll do the review, and it'll be fun. I just love doing these Patreons so much because I watch movies that I don't normally have the opportunity to, or maybe I wouldn't have thought of watching it, and I've found some really good ones.
Yeah.
And some not so much.
Indeed, man. We keep our eyes on our thumb to the pulse as much as possible, but in this new advent of streaming everything between like dozens of platforms at this particular point, and still a few things coming to theaters. It's tough. So if you have a recommendation, whether new or old, definitely make sure to throw that out. And if you want to check out XX, it is streaming. I know for sure on Hulu. That's where I watched it for the second time. So make sure to check that out, and all of the talented ladies that are on the board there. But I guess until next time, Parade fans, you heard about the Patreon stuff. I have been Jaime and Fuego.
March Parker.
And remember,
Stay scared. All right.